Hello everybody, welcome to Tarpon Creek. My name is Alan and this is my workshop. Hey friends, today we've got a great project for us. We're going to be making a tarpon wall hanging, and we're going to use an old Japanese technique called Shou Sugi Ban or Yakisugi. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the fish we're talking about. This is our tarpon. And in Shou Sugi Ban, what they would do is they would char cedar planks. And the result was that the boards were made resistant to fire, to water, to sun, and it made an excellent sheathing for their homes. Now we're going to take it a step further and create a real texture on our fish. What we do is we burn it quite heavily, more than a char I would say, and then we wire brush it heavily to create, I don't know if you can see it, but to create a three-dimensional effect where the lines of the grain stand out above the softer wood in between the lines of grain. We're going to be using select pine with no knots in it. And once we've finished with our wire brushing, what we're going to do is stain the wood with a nice rich color and then put a finish on it that's going to give us a nice luster, accentuate the three-dimensional effect of the grain, and send it off to our client for years of hopefully beautiful hanging on his wall. So what we need for this project is a blank that is 18 inches high and 44 inches long. So I'm going to go get that glued up and cut up so that we're ready to take this baby to the fire. I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are dressed up and ready to go. The tarpon is ready to be charred, cut out, it's sanded, smoothed around the edges a little bit. We're not going to make a tabletop out of this thing or anything, although that's an interesting idea. But I do sand it to get rid of the glue lines. They burn a little bit differently from the grain, and so we don't want any of that if we can help it. Next step is to put it in front of the fire. Okay, let's get to it. I won't make you watch through all of this, but I'll do enough so hopefully you can get an idea of what we're doing. All right, so you can see we've got a fairly even char across the whole fish. That's not enough for me, although there's no right or wrong. You can do pretty much anything you want. But at this level, we're not going to have a lot of grain pop. Part of the grain pop is the fact that we're digging into the softwood. That's what makes the grain stand out. And we're not charred enough yet to really see a whole lot of the softwood come out. So I'm going to keep at this, but keep in mind that if you're doing this, there's no right or wrong. Try different pieces. I worked on lots of scraps, so try different pieces to get the idea or an idea of what you like. All right, that's one side that looks pretty good. I'm going to go around here and burn the edges. Not quite as deeply, but I want to make sure that when we put the stain on them, that this is not going to stand out. Let me bring you a little bit closer where I think maybe you can see some of the crinkling on the surface there. And so at that level of char, what's going to happen is when we wire brush it, we're going to start pulling up all of that stuff. And that's some of the soft wood. And that's what we want. We want to dig in to the softwood so that the grain will be standing out. Okay, so let's take a look at these tools. Starting at the basic level, we've got just a standard wire brush. And while this will require a little bit more elbow grease than some of the power tools, it certainly will do the job. And next up is one form or another of a wire brush attachment in a drill. I use this particular wheel. If I'm holding it like that, I can get in between some of the pieces of grain, lines of grain. This is great on a, running along the surface. And the big daddy of the whole thing is this tool called the restorer. And it's heavy, which helps because it provides its own weight. And what we do is simply slip a roller. This is not actually wire, this is heavy duty nylon. And that just slips in there. Oops, got it upside down. Slips in there. We close it up. And start running along. So let's get going. I'll get outside where we can make a mess at will and see what we got. Okay, so here we go. Got a pretty uniform color, overall tone. We've got some variations, just the nature of the beast. That's how it goes. Okay, we're ready to finish this project up and put some stain on it. So here's where we ended up after we finished our wire brushing and cleanup. I thought I'd just take a minute to go through what I do to get the color I want. My starting point is almost always these general finish dye stains. They're water-based and they're quite thin. So I typically start with those and I'll try a mix. In this case, I'm looking for a deep blue. So we got blue, red, and green. The red and green will basically, kind of make black almost and start to darken it down. But I also use food coloring, Craftmaster Aqua Gel food colorings. And they're very thick. A little goes a very long way with these guys, and they're quite bright. These general finish stains are less bright. But then what I do is I mix and I try and I mix and I try. And you can see there's a whole lot of samples here. I just mix and match until I get what I want. We've got our stain that we mixed up, and I usually put this on with a cheap chip brush. It's watery, so I'll just brush it on, and then what I do is follow up with a piece of foam and just kind of smooth it out, make sure we've got an even texture. And I may have to go back over certain areas just to get a kind of uniform look. This stuff, by the way, is the same stuff that they make foam brushes from. And you can get it at any fabric store. They sell it for cushion material. So we're going to get started. Before we get started, suit up, especially gloves. This may be water-based stain, but it's going to do just as good a job of staining you as it will of the wood. If you get it on your hands, it's a little difficult to get it off. It just kind of soaks in. So let's get on with it. All right, well there we are. You can see it's taken on some highlights here. It goes on pretty dark, and as it dries we'll see that it will brighten. It's not going to get lighter, but it will brighten a little bit, especially when we put the finish on it that gives it a gloss. That's going to highlight the texture on it. So for right now, the only thing I need to do is go around and put stain on the edges so that we've got a uniform look, whether you're looking at it up, down, or sideways. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so while you were off making popcorn, I snuck out into the shop here and finished off our tarpon's eye and put some polyurethane on so that we get that sheen we were looking for. And here's what we've got to show for our efforts. All right, so here we go, the great unveil. Look at that. Get a nice sheen on there. Let me see if I can't show you some of the real texture that we've got here. See, that's what we were looking for. Let's see how that grain is standing out from among the pieces of softer wood. Very nice, just what we were looking for. I hope you enjoyed this project, and maybe it's inspired you to do something on your own. Doesn't have to be a fish, doesn't have to be big. I hope this helps. Have fun. In closing this off, I just want to say thank you for watching the video. It means a lot to me, so I appreciate it. And if it gave you an idea of something you might want to try for yourself, please give me a thumbs up. And also, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing. I've got several projects coming up that I'm really looking forward to showing to you. One, I'm not sure when it's coming, but soon, will be to make a shaker-style bedside table with a drawer entirely from big box 2x4s. So that should be a really interesting. We'll see how that turns out. So that's it for this time. I am just starting on my YouTube journey here, so if there's something that you liked or didn't like, please give me a comment. I'd love to know what you think. It's going to help me be better at making these videos, and hopefully then it means better content for you. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one.